Hey everyone, looks like people are coming on now. Glad to see, glad to be on here again. I'm glad to see familiar faces. Give me a few more minutes and I'll be back. All right, guys, I'm back now. Let's go ahead and if you guys can hear me, can you guys say something in the comments? Can you just put like a 1 or a 2 or a hi or whatever you want? Just something in the comments to let me know that you hear me. Okay, great. Looked like somebody was just trying to come in my office door. So give me a second so that we're not interrupted. One more second. Just want you guys say where you're from. Comment where you're from in the comments while I make sure that we're not going to be interrupted. All right, great, guys. Glad to be here today. We're going to talk about Facebook audiences. We're not going to really talk about targeting specifically, although that's what audiences kind of overlaps with. We're going to talk about different types of audiences, and targeting is only a piece of this. And so there's actually different types of audiences that you can make within Facebook, and I list them out right here that you can see on the screen: custom audiences, lookalike audiences, and saved audiences. And so I want to go over each one of these and look at them really, really good in detail. Make sure you guys understand what each one is, and hopefully understand when you would be using each one of them. Does that make sense, you guys? How many of you guys think that information on audiences and targeting and the people that you're going after, how do you guys think, how many of you guys think that that's helpful? Should be everybody, right? Everybody should think that this is helpful. No matter how advanced or how new you are to this, this stuff is really, really helpful. So you've probably heard me talk. If you've heard me talk before, you've probably heard me mention my 3 Ps: people, product, and promotion. And let me turn off my phone. The people, the product, and the promotion. Well, audiences makes up the people. It makes up the one big leg of the 3 Ps. And so it's very, very important to have your audiences down. Once you figure out who your audiences are, you want to keep them, you want to keep them saved, and you want to reuse them over and over and over again. Okay? So, audiences, once you find out who your customers are, who your buyers are, and who it is that you're going to be going after, that right match, you don't have to find audiences anymore unless you're going after a bunch of different niches. If you're trying to build million stores and go after a bunch of different niches, then sure, yeah, you're going to have to find endless audiences. But if you have a store that's based on a niche and you only have a certain amount of products or a certain type of products, then once you found your audiences, you could just throw new products at them all day long once you find out what they like. So the audience part is very, very important. It's basically the deciding factor of whether you're going to get sales or not. If you don't have a people that's going to buy your product, then everything is kind of useless. To build a store, to build brand, build everything else. If you don't have the people, the right people, then everything else is useless. So let me go ahead and get rid of this screen that's up right now. As I said, we're going to talk about Facebook audiences, and you can find audiences a lot of other places. You've heard me even mention a few of those. But we're specifically talking about Facebook because that's what we talk about in this group mostly. And so Facebook audiences, and also that's where you're going to find the masses of people. there's people all over the internet, but where you're going to find, on Facebook, you could instantly hit in a matter of, hours, minutes, really, if you just, depend on how much you spend, you could hit millions of people. I mean, you have access to that. And so, and these are people that are obviously enjoying leisure time. In other words, they have time to shop, right? You can find people elsewhere, like say LinkedIn, right? People on LinkedIn, they're making business connections. They're not going to look like they really don't want to buy there, right? On YouTube, they might be looking at how-tos or watching music videos or whatever. They're not really looking to buy products. They might not even be paying attention to the video to catch the ad, although there are very, very useful ways of using YouTube. My point is that to really hit the masses, Facebook, you can hit them at every angle because they're there for leisure time. They're there just to check out pictures and just waste time. And so to get that impulse purchase isn't very hard. It's hard in the sense that it's hard to get an impulse purchase, but Facebook is the best way to do it. And so that's why I spend so much time on Facebook. That's why Chris spends so much time, and everybody else in the group spends so much time on Facebook, is because that's where the money's at. That's where you're going to get some sales. So you guys should be able to see my screen now that says, has the audiences up here. When you go to your business manager, if you just click up in this menu, you will find audiences, and that's what I clicked. I just clicked the audience tab, and that's where we're going to find everything that we're going to talk about today, where to build our audiences. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this tab. Can you guys say something? If you guys, if you've ever came over to the audiences tab in your business manager and created an audience, can you guys put that in the comments? Just let me know. I'm kind of interested in how many people have actually came to the audiences tab. I'm not talking about making an ad or making an audience within your Power Editor or Ads Manager when you're creating your ad, but actually came to the audiences tab right here. Very helpful. You guys, don't be afraid to click around within your ads manager. I mean, it's yours. Your business manager, it's yours. It's your little item, right? It's your little discovery ground. So play with it. Click where you want, and don't be afraid to see what all of this stuff is up here, right? This is what I try to go over with you guys in this group. I just like to try to make it known. Let this stuff be known to you, because a lot of people just don't like to explore or are afraid to explore because we're going to make mistakes, right? And so what I want you to do is take a chance, go ahead and just click around and just look. You don't have to actually do anything. Just look around with the menus and see what's all there that you could learn about. Okay, just to get familiar with it. But today we're going to talk about the audience tab, and it looks like some of you have not much, and some of you have not at all came here to make your audiences. And that's about what I would expect. I mean, it's one of those things that you don't always have to do. Once you get your audiences in here, you don't really have to mess with them very much anymore anyways. But it's really good to know where this is at. And so what we're going to do, actually, let me show you on the left-hand side. You have these folders that are just kind of organizing folders that it's really easy to find the different types of audiences that you have based on whatever it is you're trying to do. So sometimes I just want to look at the audiences I just made, and so I'll look at my recent audiences, or sometimes I just want to see my audiences that are used within an ad, right? And so I'll say audiences. I'll look at audiences within audiences in active ads, right? Or sometimes I might want to see audiences that are ready to use, because if you see, where's the other one at? There's some that are, all audiences. There's some right here that are not ready to use. And so you'll get some warnings to where you sometimes don't have, like you have audiences, but you can't use them. They're built, but there's nothing really there. And so you get these red errors. So sometimes you just want to see the ones that are active, or you want to see the ones that are not active so you can figure out why they're not active, right? So again, these folders on the left-hand side. Don't be afraid to click around. Shared account or shared audiences. Audiences shared to this account, and audiences shared by this account. So say this audience right here, term 2, I don't know what it is. It's aviation, I guess. It's just a sample audience probably. And it's a saved audience that I made. Actually, I can't do that one. I can't take a saved audience. I have to take a custom audience. Let's see this one. A custom audience, you could actually click share and share it with another account. one of your other ads accounts. That's very, very helpful for somebody like me. I was in the, I'm in the outdoor sporting goods niche, but I'm also, I'm in a lot of other niches that kind of overlap that. And so like one of them is survival niche. And so sometimes I want to share my survival audiences with my outdoor ads account, and vice versa. I might, share it from my outdoors account to my survival account, right? And so shared pixels, it's good to see which ones are being shared. And, as you grow your brand, you'll be looking at this stuff maybe a little bit more, but not too often. It's just, again, I want you to be aware that it's there. Okay? Cool stuff? Okay, let's see. Let's talk about the, different types of audiences. Let's just start at the top and then work our way down. Okay, I don't have any slides for any of this today. A lot of times I do these webinars or live feeds, and I have slides that make it a little bit easier to remember, but I'm just going to kind of use Facebook itself as my slides, right? Just go straight down. I'm going to click on create audience, and then there's these 3 different options of audiences that you can create, right? Now, those are the 3 that I had here on the cover that said custom audience, lookalike audience, and saved audience, right? Those are the same ones right here, custom audience, lookalike audience, and saved audience. So that's what we're going to be looking at today for the rest of this webinar is these different types of audiences. When you would want to use each one, I'm going to give you kind of some just my thinking on it. And then let's see. So what each one is, how to use each one, how to create each one, when you're going to use them, and just some helpful information around them. Okay? So let me hear if you guys... So custom audience is number 1, lookalike audience is number 2, and saved audience is number 3. You guys put in the comments, if you've used all of them, then put 1, 2, 3. I just put 1, 2, 3 in the comments. If you've used custom audience, put 1. If you've used lookalike audiences, put 2. If you've used saved audiences, put 3. If you've used all of them or whatever ones you use, just put that number. It's helpful to see what other people are doing too, because this kind of encourages other people, right? There's a lot of people in this group. There's, let's see how many people in this group now. 15,000 almost, 14,985 people in the group, right? So it helps other people when they see what you're doing too, because it gives them, the confidence to step out and do the same thing. So, that's why I asked you guys to put that information or to comment. So great. So let's start off at custom audiences. Custom audiences are audiences that you build yourself from data. So custom audiences and lookalike audiences are built from data that you somehow have acquired. I'm using that really loosely right now. We'll actually look at the exact definitions here in a minute. But that's how these two differentiate from saved audiences. Saved audiences are going to be built kind of like targeting audiences, audiences with interests and demographics and things like that. So custom audiences come from, say, like a pixel or from your MailChimp list or other things. Lookalike audiences from custom audiences, and then saved audiences are built from Facebook targeting information. And so we'll talk about each one of those more in depth here in a second. I just kind of wanted to give you an overview of these 3 real quick and what separates these 2 from this one down here. Okay? Cool. It looks like, just looking at the numbers, it looks like that a lot of you guys are actually stepping out and making saved audiences. That's a really good thing. I see a lot of number 1s, so there's a lot of custom audiences. That's awesome. I see a few number 2s, so not many people using lookalike audiences. Lookalike audiences are, if you guys have gotten sales, here I'm going to give you guys a tip. All of you that are saying 1 and 3, if you've gotten sales from 1 or 3, then you need to be using lookalike audiences. Make lookalike audiences of your data. There's different ways to do that. We'll talk about that here in a second. But you need to be using lookalike audiences. Lookalike audiences are what's really going to give you the ability to create long-term campaigns and create a sustainable store. Okay, they're highly undervalued, I believe, and I've been using lookalike audiences since they very first came out over 2 years ago, and they just keep getting better. So they're highly valuable. Okay, so let's start with custom audiences and look at what those are and how can we use them. So if you click on create audience and then custom audience, there's 4 different options that you can use. And Facebook gives us, I'm just going to actually read the description up here that's kind of helpful for all of us, I guess. How do you want to create this audience? Reach people who have a relationship with your business, whether they are existing customers or people who have interacted with your business on Facebook or other platforms. So a minute ago, I was trying to explain it as like you possess this data. Well, Facebook describes it in a way that it's people who have a relationship with your business. Okay? So you're going to create custom audiences. So remember, there's custom audiences, lookalike audiences, and saved audiences. Custom audiences are created from people who have a relationship with your business. Okay? So, 1, you can have a customer file. A customer file to match, use a customer file to match your customers with people on Facebook and create an audience from the matches. The data will be hashed prior to upload. So in other words, if you have a list of customers and you have their email addresses and their phone numbers or any other information that could link them to an account on Facebook, if you have this information, we're going to look at what that can be in a minute, you can use that information to create an audience that you could then target on Facebook. So if somebody buys a product from you and they give you their email address, which you're going to because you're using Shopify and they're just going to put in their email address because they have to, so when you get customers that are buying from you and you're getting their email address, well, you could come over here and create a customer file that then allows you to target them on Facebook. Now you might be asking, well, Robert, I'm finding these people on Facebook in the first place. Like, why can I just target them the old way rather than making a customer file? Well, customer files are going to allow you to make lookalike audiences as well. So customer files are really important. And also they allow you to reach your customers with a bunch of different products as well. So customer files are very important. Let's just go ahead and click it and open it up and see how we can create customer files. This is what I do a lot when I create my custom audiences. I actually manually copy and paste the data. I'll go over to my Shopify store and say somebody bought a fidget spinner. Those are really popular right now. A matter of fact, I shared the Bluetooth fidget spinner in the group the other day, and you guys all said you've seen that one before. But let's just say I had a group of buyers for the Bluetooth fidget spinner, and say I had a fidget spinner store that had 25 different fidget spinners, but only one of them was a Bluetooth fidget spinner, and I wanted to make an audience of only those people who bought that Bluetooth fidget spinner. Well, I'd go into my Shopify store. I would sort through the orders by the product that they purchased for the Bluetooth spinner, and then I would copy the audience information, or excuse me, the customer information, and I would paste it right in here. And this is the information that you can upload. You can upload emails, phone numbers, mobile advertiser IDs, first name, last name, postal code, city, Facebook user ID, age, gender, year of birth, date of birth, country, state, province, Facebook page user ID. Right? You could upload all of this information and create audiences out of it. Now, you can't just upload a gender, like just female, the letter M or F, and just upload that and make an audience of that. It doesn't work that way. You have to use, let's see if this gives me information. I like clicking on these. I'm going to be clicking on these helpful links throughout this webinar because I want you guys to get used to doing that too. I really want to stress that. Every time I do one of these webinars, I'm almost always linking or coming over here to this business help page, the Advertiser Help Center, because it's so useful. I mean, I come here all the time. I spend a lot of time reading this stuff. So you should get used to it. And just like any other thing, you're not expected to remember everything, right? It doesn't matter if you're an engineer at NASA, you're not expected to remember all of the physics involved. You have to utilize the resources available, books and the internet, to try to figure stuff out. Same thing with Facebook advertising, right? Or marketing or running a business. You're not expected to remember everything. You just got to remember where to go to find the everything, the information. And so that's what Facebook That's what this Advertiser Help Center is for. Is it gives you a place to go find the information that you need. So very, very helpful. And so customer data preparation, best practices. I'm not going to look at all of this, but it gives you a whole page of how to prepare your data. So spend some time on that if you want to. But to be straight up, what I do for this right here is I just copy the email addresses. That's the only one I use. I'll just copy the email addresses of all the people that bought my Bluetooth fidget spinner, and I will click right here, paste that data, and I'll paste that data in there, and I'll name my audience, and I'll hit next, and now I have an audience of people who bought my fidget spinner, my Bluetooth fidget spinner. And guess what I could do with them, you guys? I could create a lookalike audience. Now, I'm not going to do that yet because I want to go through the rest of the custom audience stuff, but I could create a lookalike audience of people. So an audience that looks like the people who bought my Bluetooth fidget spinner. So if I had 200 people that bought my Bluetooth fidget spinner, I could create a custom audience of them, and then I could create a lookalike audience of those 200 people, which will give me at least 2 million people. And it's going to be the 2 million people, at least, minimum, on Facebook that are most like the original audience, which would be the audience of Bluetooth fidget spinner people, buyers. Right? Does that make sense, you guys? Does that make sense? I think you guys are getting that one. It's very, very straightforward, and honestly, it's very, very powerful. This is stuff that you guys need to be using. Okay, I wouldn't even call this advanced stuff. I would call this maybe intermediate, but even beginner intermediate. Just getting familiar with these is beginner intermediate. Okay, so get started on them. Just learn about them, right away. But again, custom audiences, customer files. You can copy and paste that information, like I just showed you, or you can import from MailChimp. Now, I use MailChimp. I like MailChimp. A lot of people use other email platforms, but I love MailChimp, and I highly recommend it, and I will probably never go from MailChimp, or at least anytime soon, simply because it integrates so easily with everything. And so you could get the MailChimp app. It used to be called Chimpified. I don't know what it's called now, but it would just install right into your Shopify store. And every customer that goes through your Shopify store is automatically put into MailChimp, into a MailChimp list that you pick. And the cool thing about it is it tracks what products they purchase. It tracks all the purchase information. You can look inside your MailChimp account and see the information or segment your list based on the purchases and the behaviors on your Shopify store. Now, if that doesn't mean anything to any of you guys, or to some of you guys, let me explain what MailChimp is. MailChimp is an email service that allows you to send out bulk emails to your email list. Okay, so I think there's been a few webinars that have talked about emails before. That's not what this is about, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I just say that I like MailChimp for my email services because one, it connects easily into Shopify, and two, it connects easy right into Facebook. It's the only option here, right? It's the only option for creating a custom audience of customers from an email service. MailChimp's the only one, and so I like it for that reason. Because what you could do then is that when somebody buys from your store, you can pick the list from that store in your MailChimp account and then create an audience of those people, right? So I'm not going to run through that one because it's really simple. I'd have to log into my account and show my lists and all of that, and I'm not going to do that. But it's really, really simple to do. If you have a MailChimp account, I recommend that you start at least building your main customer list with it. Okay? You guys following along? You guys like it so far? Okay. Custom audiences, that was just customer file. Way more. How do you want to create this audience? Oh, wait. We already went over that spot. I thought I clicked this. Okay, website traffic. Create a list of people who visited your website or took specific actions. Okay, so customer file was a file from data, so a copy and paste file or a file from MailChimp of your customers that was, it was data that you collected. Website traffic is different in that you're going to create an audience based on the actions that people took on your website. Let me move this over here real quick. I want to see what shows up when I click that. Okay. Okay, we're good. I have other people's ads accounts in here, and so I always want to be careful that I'm not showing their information. I work with a lot of different people. Okay, so when I click custom audiences and create audience, custom audience, we looked at customer file, there's website traffic. You're going to click there, and you could build an audience off of people who visited your website or visited certain pages on your website and not other pages. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So you could create an audience. You're going to choose a pixel. So you have to create this audience. You have to have a pixel on your store, which you guys should all have a pixel on your store already. You should have already went through that. You're going to pick the pixel that you have associated. You probably only have one. I have a million of them. But you're going to pick the pixel. You are going to create an audience from that pixel or the traffic that was that hit that pixel. So you have this little thing, this little piece of code that's called a pixel. You guys should have already you should already understand this. You have this little piece of code on your website that's called a pixel, and whenever people visit a page on your website, it triggers that little piece of code and tells Facebook, hey, somebody visited this page, or hey, somebody bought this product, or hey, somebody put this or added to cart, right? It relays back that information to Facebook via this pixel, okay? And so what you can do now is you could create an audience from the people who have done any of those actions, any of the actions that are associated with the pixel. Let's see. So the Facebook pixel, that is the source of traffic, okay? These are helpful pieces of information. I recommend that you guys hover over these all the time to learn. Website traffic is choose how you want to add people to your audience, include all of your website visitors, or create rules that only add people to people who visit specific parts of your website. Okay, so you could pick how you want to target them, and right here it says anyone who visits your website. So this is now you got your pixel on your store. So anybody who hits any page on your website, you could create an audience from all of them. And you could do it within, it used to be 180 days. Yeah, 180 days maximum time. So you go back 180 days if you want. I recommend having a few different audiences for each one. I don't do this for all of them, but I do test them for all of them. And the reason why is you're going to find different results with different audiences that you create. And so I typically will have a 180-day one, and I'll save it and I'll create audience. And then I'll do a 30-day one, and I'll name it and create audience. And then I'll do a 7-day audience. And the reason why is because these audiences, not only can you create lookalike audiences of them, but you can create, you can retarget them, right? You could now show them ads on Facebook, right? Based on the action that they already took, because now they're audiences in your account, right? So people who visited a certain page, so these are people who visit my whole website. So I create those 3 different layers of audiences or time frames. The reason why is because most people are going to buy within the first 70 days, but some people will buy way out, right? But up to 180 days, people typically aren't going to buy. But I will have a 180-day audience because that'll allow me to retarget those same interested people later on with different products up to 6 months, right? So they might not be buying the product that I'm showing them right now, which is the people that I want in the 7-day audience, the people that are highly interested, but they might buy that product later on, or might buy a different product later on. So I keep them in my 180-day audience, if that makes sense. Okay, we could go way in depth on some of this stuff, you guys. I'm trying to keep this as simple. I'm trying to I want to make sure that you understand every little aspect of this, just in the general sense. So we can't really go way in depth on the logic on a lot of this stuff. That's for another time. You can include past website traffic, which I always do, right? I mean, if you have a pixel on your store and you've never created an audience, maybe you've never done these audiences before, and you want to go back and do that because maybe you've been running your store for 6 months and you want to create an audience off of it now. You're like, man, I should have done this 6 months ago. No, you could do it now. Just click include past website traffic, right? And then it'll get everybody from the past 6 months or the past 7 days or whatever it is that I choose. Sound good? Okay, so let's look at, you got your pixel chosen. Okay, let's look at the different options that you have here. You can do anyone who visits your website. So this is just anywhere on your website. This is, I use this one the least, I think. I'm just trying to think of it off the head. I think I use this one the least. I do use this when I create an audience of people who visited my website, and I'll create a lookalike audience of it, but I won't target them very often. The reason being, it's almost useless. If they visited every product on your store, then I can't really get precise. It's really, I guess it really depends on what your store is. I'm thinking about my stores, and so if you have a very niche store, that's focused on one specific niche, you might use this a little bit more than I have. These are the fidget spinner store, right? You have the fidget spinner store that has all the fidget spinners on it. You're going to retarget everybody that hits any page. You don't really care because you're selling fidget spinners, right? Versus me, where I have an outdoor store, but I might have people that are hikers, but not fishers, right? Not fishermen, right? And those people aren't, the ones that are going to camp with a tent, right? And so I have all these different types of audiences. And so when I have an audience like that or a store like that, then I don't so much want to use anyone who visits your website because, I might be targeting them with a fishing item, and that's only a small piece of everybody who visited my store, right? Make sense, you guys? So that's the when and how of that one, or the logic behind that one. You could target people who visited specific pages on your website. And so that's the one that I like to do most often. Actually, I use custom combination most often, but it makes up this one. People who visited specific pages. So say I had, let's use the Bluetooth fidget spinner as an example again. Say I have a bunch of fidget spinners on my store, but I wanted to target people who only visited the one that was the Bluetooth fidget spinner. And so I take the keyword or the page, I choose the page for the Bluetooth fidget spinner, put in the keyword Bluetooth, because that's going to be in the URL. Make sure it's a word that's in the URL of the product. And I create the audience from that, right? Or you could use the URL contains, the URL does not contain, and URL matches regular expression. So you could use actually these different options. So say I wanted to make an audience of everybody who visited my store, but didn't visit the Bluetooth fidget page. Well, then I could put URL does not contain, right? Now you're most likely going to use that one in a custom combination, which I'll show you in a minute. How do I get back to where I was going? Up here. Custom combination. So I'm going to show you that here in a second. That's the one I use the most, but I want to show you kind of what each one of these are. People visiting specific web pages, but not others, which is another one that I use often. So you could put Bluetooth. URL does not contain Bluetooth, but does contain everything else. So now they didn't Bluetooth or visit the Bluetooth. Custom. You could do whatever you want. Customize it however you want. I'm just using it as an example. You guys have to think about this in your own stores. Every store is different, you guys. Every store is different. So URL does not contain or URL does contain. So that's people visiting specific web pages but not others. And then people who haven't visited in a certain amount of time. So people who haven't come to your store in a while, right? And then you could do a custom combination. What happened? Let me refresh this page. Okay. You could do a custom combination. And the custom combination is actually even cooler because remember, this is off your pixel. So you could do, I wonder if it's not going to give it to me on this account. I think we're doing website traffic only. Let me cancel this. Before I jump ahead, I haven't done this part in a while, so. I don't want to say something that's not true anymore. Okay. So we'll just deal with what's here. So URL, you can put your URL contains, and then you can put URL contains a bunch of phrases that are in the URL, because maybe you have like 3 or 4 different Bluetooth fidget spinners, but you only want to get like your fidget, maybe the blue Bluetooth fidget spinner. That's a tongue twister. Okay, you could layer the different words, right? The way you want, or for the keywords that you want to create the audience that you want. You could also exclude traffic that meets the following conditions. So you could exclude, these people would be excluded from your targeting. So maybe people so this is what I like. People who visited Bluetooth, right? But did not visit Thank You, I think is how Shopify has it. Right? So people who looked at the Bluetooth fidget spinner but did not purchase the Bluetooth fidget spinner. Right? Does that make sense, you guys? So you could do inclusion and exclusion for your custom website audience. So let's look at these again. We have our custom, so create audiences, because I know people are coming on and leaving, so I just want to go through again what we've done. We went to create audience, and then we've looked at customer files. That's where you take customer data, people who are already related to your business or have a relationship with your business somehow, and you're going to create an audience of them. And then there's website traffic. These are people who visited certain website or certain pages on your website, and it says and took specific actions. It's not giving me that option to show you guys there for some reason in here. So so I can't go over that. I feel like I'm missing something right now. Yeah, so you guys could go in there and look and see if it's there, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be some more options when you create when you go into create custom audiences in the website traffic. So look at that a little bit more, and then you can take you could create audiences of people who have interacted with an app. Now you might be like, okay, well, that has nothing to do with us. We're on Shopify. We don't have apps, right? We don't have. Oh, I thought somebody was answering. I'm gonna keep track of these comments over here because I thought I missed something and it threw me off once already. Okay. All right, cool. You guys are following me along. All right. Yeah, your head's spinning. Okay, that's fine. You'll get it. Just watch the video over and over and over again. I don't know if you see my posts today, but I've spent over $1 million on Facebook ads. I've done a lot of this stuff. So, and even you could tell that even some of this stuff, it's like changing, and I have to look things up, and I don't remember everything. So, it's okay if your head spins. Just like I said a minute ago, it doesn't. The NASA, even the NASA engineer, doesn't remember all of the physics, right? That's reality, right? So as long as you remember where to go find the information, that's all that really matters. Okay. So we've looked at customer file, website traffic, app activity. So you can have an app. I have an app for my main store. Matter of fact, we have a couple different apps, and they're kind of out of commission right now. You can still go download them, and people do interact with them and buy from them, buy within my app. And so you can have an app for your store. Okay, and you could target people who've interacted with your app, right? Or you could have a different type of app. And so apps on Facebook, there's actually apps that you could build that are really, really simple. They're not the normal type of app that you would think of. They're just a connection with a website. And so maybe people will log in with Facebook, right, on your website. Maybe you'll have them log in with Facebook. Well, that login with Facebook is connected to an app. And so you could create an audience of people who logged in with Facebook on your store if you have it set up that way. Now, most people don't. I don't have that. I don't have that, at least on my e-commerce stores. I do that with my marketing stuff, but I do not use that with my e-commerce stores. But you can. You really, really can. Matter of fact, we did do it on our e-commerce stores. I take that back. We had a free plus shipping offer one time. Here's how you guys could do it. We did a free plus shipping offer one time, and on the landing page of the free plus shipping offer, in order to see the page, so it would see the page, but it was kind of hidden with an overlay, and then a button that said share to claim this offer, and they would click share, and then they would be able to claim the offer. And everybody who clicked share would be engaging with the app, and so I could make an audience of everybody who shared. Right, so that's another way you could create an audience of people who used apps. Somebody says maybe more like a macro app. It's not something that you're going to build though, right? It's not, and I don't think they're macros anyways. No, it's different. It deals with Facebook's API. If you go to your Facebook and you scroll down on the left-hand side, you'll see an apps section. Or developer section. Everybody should have one of these, I think. If you have a page, you'll see what I'm talking about. Don't be afraid to click around. That's one of those things that you shouldn't be afraid to click around. It's not going to hurt anything. Just don't create anything just don't click anything that says, are you sure you want to delete your account or anything like that, right? So we're not going to go into that one. I'm not even going to click on this one, I don't think, because I don't know what's going to show up. I don't want to show you guys the stuff that we have in there. But don't be afraid to explore, okay? And then you could create an audience based on engagement on Facebook. So this is where you could create an audience of people who did something like, I think I went over this recently with you guys. No, maybe not. Well, let me just show you. Actually, let me move this over real quick. Okay, cool. So when you click on engagement on Facebook, you're going to be able to create a list of people who engaged with your content on Facebook, obviously, right? So you click that, but it gives you 4 different options of what those actually are. And these are always changing. I didn't know what to expect when I clicked on it a minute ago because it's constantly changing. Like right here, it says new, right? Even though I think that was the first one that was there. Maybe, no, not out of these ones. And then, you know what? I know 100% sure that I have different ones in different accounts, different options in different accounts. So you guys might be seeing different options. Wow. Yeah, I have different options in different accounts. So this one for video, you can create an audience. Well, let me start at the top. What kind of engagement do you want to use to create this audience? Engagement audiences allow you to reach people who have previously interacted with your content on Facebook. You can create a video audience, which will be creating a list of people who have spent time watching your videos on Facebook. Do you guys think that's helpful? Creating a audience of people who watch your videos. Hasn't Chris talked a lot about video? Like, isn't that, like, hasn't he talked about, that's a lot of what his examples are, is video ads. And so if you could create an audience of people who spent time watching your videos, that's powerful, right? And you could actually create audiences of people who choose the content type. I don't know what they're showing. What's here? You could actually choose yep, that's exactly what I was going to show you. Cool. How much of the video they've watched, the portion of the video. So have they watched 10 seconds of your video? Have they watched 25% of your video? Have they watched 50, 75, whatever, right? You create audiences from that. And then you create audiences from leads. So leads are a type of post, right? A lead is a type of post on Facebook that you guys might not be familiar with. Again, don't be afraid to click around. When you go to your Facebook page and you're going to create a post on your Facebook page, there's a little button there that says something about create a lead post or something like that, or capture more leads or something like that, right? Don't be afraid to click that, because what it's going to be able to do, what it's going to allow you to do is create audience or lists of people who opt into something, right? So just like any other type of lead, if you're familiar with any other type of lead capture or opt-in forms or things like that, it's the exact same thing. Except on Facebook, it's a little bit cooler and it's a little bit easier for the prospect, because they don't actually have to enter in any information. Facebook already has the information. So people who engage with your lead ad, or who opt into your lead ad, when they click the button to opt in, Facebook pulls up all of the information that they already have in their Facebook account, their email, their name, and those things, and gives them the option to change that information or just click submit. And that's the information that goes in and is submitted into the lead capture. And so it makes it really, really easy for the customer to opt into something. But it also gives you leads of people who are on Facebook, 100% sure they are on Facebook. How do you know? Because they opted in on Facebook. So now you have a list of people, of leads of people who are on Facebook 100% sure. Completely different than if you were going to, say you're targeting people on Facebook and you drove them to an outside website and you collect leads on your outside website. Well, they're going to be putting in 1,000,001 different email addresses, and about maybe 3/5 of those emails will then be able to be made into a custom audience, because the rest of them aren't going to be an email address associated with Facebook. Versus if you collect the lead right here inside of Facebook, it's automatically generated and put into the lead capture, and the prospect just clicks a button and it sends it to MailChimp or whatever. That email address is connected to Facebook because it's automatically generated by, they put it into Facebook already. That's what they created their account with on Facebook, right? And so you know that those leads are connected with Facebook, and that's very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. A lot of people miss that, but it's very powerful. For the reason that you could then target them again, you create lookalike audiences, you could do a whole bunch of stuff, with that complete lead list. So, we're talking about audiences, not so much leads, and so the important part was what I just mentioned, that you could create audiences from these leads, right? You could create a custom audience of people who click the opt-in button on your Facebook account, right? So that's an engagement on Facebook. And then Canvas was, I was talking about this recently, but it wasn't in this group, I don't believe. That training, I think, is on my Facebook page or something like that. But I was talking about Canvas ads where you could create audiences with Canvas, and I actually create these funnels, Facebook funnels. They're basically just a normal funnel, but you build it right inside of Facebook using Canvas. And Canvas are like small web pages within Facebook. Okay, we're not going to go over how to do all this right now. It's very deep training, but they're basically like a small web page within Facebook, and you can create audiences based on what Canvas or what web page that they visited. So what we did is we create these funnels. We have lead people through three or four Canvas, and I can make an audience off of each Canvas that people visit, right? And so, just like every other funnel, I could segment my users by audiences. So I'm not going to go over that really deeply right now because it's way beyond the scope of this training. But I like to throw that information out here for you guys. For those of you that are a little bit more advanced, I like you to know that stuff because it gives you something to play with. Okay, so video, lead, Canvas. Most of you guys are all just going to be dealing with video, but I do want you to explore leads and Canvas, and then you will also be dealing with page. You could create an audience of people create a list of people who have interacted with your page on Facebook, right? You see that one again? Okay, yeah. So you could, when you choose that, it gives you the option to choose the page, and then you can choose different options of what to include or who to include. So choose who you want to include in your audience based on the kind of engagement they had with your page. By default, we'll include the broadest category, or you can narrow it from the menu. Okay? So include, let's see what we have. So anyone who visited your page, anyone who engaged with any post or ad, people who clicked a call to action button, right? So that the call to action button is that little button that says learn more, shop now, that whatever all the options are on your ad. So if they click that call to action button, maybe they clicked somewhere else on the ad but didn't click the call to action button. Well, now you can just get the people who did click the call to action button. Helpful. People who send a message to your page, that's helpful. You create an audience off of that. Those are, maybe people who are with customer service issues and you just wanted to retarget them with helpful or happy information about your brand, so that maybe they had a negative experience and you want to retarget them with a happy experience. Then you could use that. Another way you could use this is if you're using like bots or something like that, and you're interacting with people through Messenger. Well, then now you could target people who sent a message to your page, right? So that's helpful with that as well. And then people who have saved your page or any post on your page. Those are people that just are highly interested in what you have to say for whatever reason. It depends on your brand. So these are different ways you could target people who have engaged with your page. You could do the same thing as far as time, except I think 365 days here. It gives you a whole year to go back and create audiences of those people. Okay. So that is creating a custom audience from a page. Okay. So let's start back at the beginning. So custom audience was the first type of audience that we're going to talk about. Remember, we were going to talk about custom audiences, lookalike audiences, and saved audiences. And so custom audiences was all that we just went over. That first hour was all about custom audiences. Okay? And then lookalike audiences. Lookalike audiences come second because, you need to have the first audiences. You need to have the foundation, which is your custom audience, and then you can build a lookalike audience. No, Simeon, get to your daughter's graduation. Get there. This training will be recorded. Let me refresh it. Facebook glitches out sometimes when I'm doing these live feeds. So we looked at custom audiences, all of them. Let's go over that really quickly because now there's a few more people on here. So we looked at creating audiences. We looked at custom audiences, which you can be done from customer files, website traffic, app activity, or engagement on Facebook. Now we're going to create lookalike audiences, or look at how to create lookalike audiences from existing data. And so what you would do is you would create lookalike audience. Remember that let's look at this. A lookalike audience is going to come from a portion of people between 1 and 10% of all of the people on Facebook. And it's going to find the 1 to 10% of people that are most like the audience, the source audience. And so the source audience could be a page, it could be a custom audience, it can be I don't remember all of them, and I'm not going to scroll down, but you guys could click there and see what you can include. So actually, let's just look over here and see what they tell us. So an introduction to lookalike ads, I got that right here by clicking Learn More. If you guys want to learn more about lookalike ads, click there. I recommend it because, again, I highly recommend the Facebook Advertiser Help Center. I repeat stuff over and over and over, guys. I do it on purpose. I know some of you were sitting there like, why do you say the same thing over and over? I do it because I want you to remember. That's why. Okay? So introduction to lookalike audiences. A lookalike audience is a way to reach new people who are likely to be interested in your business because they're similar to people who already are. I love how they phrase that now. Oh, they've been working on this information for a while now, and Facebook's got some really smart people out there, and the way they phrase this now, it makes a lot more sense than it used to. A lookalike audience is a way to reach new people who are likely to be interested in your business because they're similar to people who already are. Right? Makes sense, right? People who are already interested in your business, a lookalike audience is going to be someone that is similar to that. Right? So it's not technical jargon. It's really simple. These help pages, they're really simple in layman's terms to where we could all understand them. And so I highly recommend that you come read these pages. Let's see. Here are some additional bits of information that are useful to keep in mind when considering lookalike audiences. Your lookalike audience will only include people from the countries you specify. Your lookalike audience must contain at least 100 people. Yeah, that's important. So you have to have, like, say you make a lookalike audience of, say you have a buyers list of Bluetooth fidget spinner buyers, and but you only have 96 people on that list. Well, you can't create a lookalike audience from that custom audience. You need to have at least 100 people in your source to be able to create a lookalike audience from that. Okay? You don't have to have anyone from the countries you want. This is new. I just read this a little while ago, and this is new. It didn't used to be this way. So right here it says you don't have to have anyone from the countries you want in your target, or from the countries you want to target in your source. So for example, if you have a source audience of 10,000 people from Finland, but you want to create a lookalike audience of people in South Africa, you can. Now that's new. You used to have 100. You used to have 100 people in that one audience, but now it's saying you don't have to have anyone from the countries, right? You don't have to have anybody from South Africa in your original audience to create an audience there. Now that's helpful. That's powerful stuff, you guys, because say you're selling in the United States and now you all of a sudden want to sell to Australia or Canada or the UK. Those are the top 3. New Zealand, those are the top 4. Right? If you have the audience to do that already. You have it. You already have it. It's there. You don't have to do anything. You just create the lookalike audience and then start selling. Right? Powerful stuff, you guys. Okay, you can create up to 500 lookalike audiences from a single source. I didn't know that because I haven't created 500 lookalike audiences of a single source, and I doubt you guys will either. People in your source audience will be excluded from your lookalike audience unless you're using a pixel, which makes complete sense. If you're making a lookalike audience of people who bought your fidget spinner, then the lookalike audience is going to exclude the people that bought the fidget spinner. However, if you make a lookalike audience of people if you make a let's read this. If people in your source audience will be excluded from your lookalike audience unless you use a pixel as your source audience. So a pixel is going to take an action. So if people are purchasing, then it will handle that different. It's a pixel action. So I'm not exactly sure what it's saying there. I don't want to make any assumptions. I thought I knew what it was saying, but I don't want to make any assumptions. You guys read this and figure it out yourself. You can use multiple lookalike audiences at the same time for a single ad set. So you can layer your lookalike audiences. So if you have people who a lookalike audience of people who bought your Bluetooth fidget spinner, and you also have a lookalike audience of people who bought your your Batman fidget spinner. Now you can sell them a Bluetooth Batman portable speaker. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of how you can kind of layer them together and you make use of this. Okay. So you guys always go back and read the information, learn as much as you can. Obviously I don't know everything on all of these pages either, and so you shouldn't expect to, but you want to learn as much as you possibly can. Okay, so you create it. You pick your source audience. That's what I wanted to see over here. Does it give you a list of? No. Source audience. A source audience is an audience a lookalike audience is based on. For example, if you create a lookalike audience from your page fans would be the source audience. Okay, well that defines it. I thought it would give us a list of the different types of source audiences. Not created with a data partner. No, yeah, that doesn't give us that list. So you'll just have to click around and find out which are all. Actually, I think we could look right here. Let me close this out. In your filters, you can see your source. Yeah. So the sources, you have a data file, you have a website, information, you have mobile app, video, lead ad, custom audience user, fan page, conversion pixel. So these are your different types of sources. Okay. And those are the sources that you could choose to make your lookalike audience. Now you could choose between 1 and 10%. And I always like to do the 1%. I use 1% all of the time simply because it's the most narrow. And I like audiences between 1 and 4 million people. That's like my sweet spot for audiences. That's what I look to build my audiences around, is between 1 and 4 million people. And so this 1% gives me that. It gives me the actually I think I got to pick one of these. Choose a country, United States. And then, so it gives me 2 million people. Because in the United States, there's about 210 million people on Facebook, roughly. And so if you targeted 1% of the 1% of those 210 million people on Facebook that are most like your target audience, or your source audience, well, then you're going to end up with about 2 million people. And so I like 1% the most because it gives me the most precise but yet still big audience. Well, I guess you can't get any more precise than that. 10%, or I also like to do 2 and 4%. Sometimes 3. But I'll usually like 2 and 4. I'll make, and I'll cross those. I'll layer those. So I'll make like a 4% audience, and that'll give me 8.4 million people. And then I'll in my targeting, I'll choose that lookalike audience, and I'll cross it with, say, some niche or something like that. So say I was selling. Say I have a lookalike audience of fidget spinner buyers, not Bluetooth now, just all fidget spinners, and now I wanted to go after fidget spinner buyers who are also into Batman. Well, then I can do that by, or I'd want to do that by having the larger audience, a broader, so 2 to 4%, somewhere around there, audience of people who are most like my buyers, and then I would target within, when I'm making my ad, I would choose this lookalike audience, and then I would layer it with a target audience of Batman people who like Batman, right, as an interest. So that's where I use the higher percentages. I have heard of people going up to 10%, and I've made them that high. I just haven't found any effective use with them. Other people have, so be willing to explore. I guess it really depends on the product. So like a fidget spinner, you could almost go so broad on that targeting on the original audience that it makes sense that a lookalike audience at 10% would work for that as well. So it just really depends on the product. Okay. Another cool thing you can do is that you could actually make several audiences based on these segments all at once. And so how I said I like to make a few of them sometimes. You can make up to 6 of them. And sometimes what I like to do is just do the first few by, not sometimes, I've only done this a couple times, but I'll make the first few by the, percentage by 1%, 0 to 1, 1 to 2, 3 to 3, so on. And then I'll make that last one from 5 to 10, so I'll capture a large amount of people, right? The most precise are going to be the most useful, so that's why I'll make a lot of them down here. But if you want to go really broad, you can do whatever you want, right? I tell you what I do, you guys, but be ready to explore. Okay, do whatever you want. Create your audiences. You click create audiences, and it'll make all of these different audiences, and you can see the different sizes of them. They're all about the same because there's they're all just that 1%. Or a big gap. So they're all going to be about that same size. And they're really, really helpful. Let's see what this information is down here. If you measure revenue per conversion or a lifetime value for people in different audiences, if you measure revenue per conversion or lifetime value for people in different audiences, you can create separate lookalike audiences with different ranges of similarity to your source. This allows you to bid differently for audiences with different conversion values. Okay, that makes sense, I guess. It's basically the same thing I said. You could create different audiences based on how close they are to your source. And so very easy stuff. There's nothing else to go over there with lookalike audiences because you really just do that one thing. You just make your audiences, right? Custom audiences, there's a lot more to go over because there's a bunch of different types of audiences and each one had its own little details. But lookalike audiences are really straightforward, right? It's really straightforward. Someone asked a question. Do I have this stuff written out? No, this is as I said in the very beginning that I didn't have any PowerPoints for this because there's so much information here, and really this dashboard. If you just go to right here your menu and click on audiences and you come to this dashboard, use this as your written out information, I guess, or as your resource of remembering how to do this. Just click on it. Create audience, then go to custom audience. If you don't remember what it is, Facebook will tell you what it is, right? And if you still don't know, well then come over here to the Advertiser Help Center and look it up. Okay. I could not. It's not possible to make a list of all of this stuff because there's just so much of it. Okay. And I'm leaving out a lot. I'm really leaving out a lot. I'm just trying to give you a general overview of what there actually is. Okay? Yeah, go back and get the beginning, Bobby, and you'll catch a lot of that. So we looked at custom audience, lookalike audience, and now saved audience. Somebody said, when should you create a custom audience? Where did I go? Just jump down. When should you create a custom audience and how many pixel fires? You have to have 20. You have to have 20 at least 20 for it to be active. So in the beginning, I showed the little red dot of audiences that are not ready to use. You have audiences that are ready to use and audiences that are not ready to use. Well, the ones that are not ready to use are the ones that you created too early. You didn't have enough data there. How do you implement this lookalike audience when creating an ad? There's a bunch of different ways to use lookalike audiences. It's how I scale. It's the main way I scale. So I'm not going to go over that too much. It's just you want to use them to expand your audiences. If you're getting a lot of sales, or if you've gotten some sales on your original audience, and you want to get more sales, right? That should be all of us. Then you want to use a lookalike audience. So how do I implement it? Just like that. When I want to get more sales, I create a lookalike audience. Okay. Use the same ads. Okay, so now saved audiences. So we looked at custom audiences, we looked at lookalike audiences, and now let's look at saved audiences. Saved audiences are basically the same audiences that you guys are going to create right inside of Power Editor when you're creating your ads, or right inside of Ads Manager when you're creating your ads. It's the same setup. Right, you got all the same. You got the same information. It's a little bit different. Looks a little bit different. You don't have as much stuff. Like in Power Editor, at the ad set level, you'll have to deal with placement and things like that. But this is just building an audience, so you only deal with the audience portion here. So it doesn't look exactly like the Ads Manager, but it's still the same information as far as the targeting aspect of it. Okay, and so what you would do is when you create a saved audience, you would just come in here and you would create an audience that you want to be able to use over and over and over again. Let me ask you guys a question. I'm gonna ask a question in about a half hour, so let me ask you guys a question. How many of you guys have went and created a campaign, built out your audience, got your campaign built out, and then maybe the same day, or maybe 5 minutes later, or maybe 5 days later, or 5 weeks later, you went back to go create another ad set, and you have to go rebuild, you have to go type in each one of those interests? Right? Have you guys made enough ads yet to where that's happened to you, where it's been frustrating? You're like, man, why do I got to type this in every time? And then I'll open up my old ad and I'll copy the audience, like copy and paste it into the new ad set, and like it can be strenuous when you do that, right? When you start working on your ads and growing your businesses, to have to type in your audience every single time can waste a lot of time, right? It could waste a lot of time. And so what I like to do is create saved audiences. And what that allows me to do is when I'm making my ads, I just pull up my saved audience, or I choose my saved audience, and all the information is already filled in. Okay? Somebody says, I always save audiences while creating ads in Ads Manager. Yes, great idea. That's what I actually do. I don't actually, sometimes I do sometimes create my audiences in here. And also if you have a team, working for you, you could have like the person that's responsible for building your audiences. They're not going to be making your ads sometimes. And so you would have them create your audiences right here in the audience section. But if you're doing it yourself while you're making your ad and you wanted to save that audience, definitely do that. So glad to hear that some of you already are. So how do I create an audience here? Well, the same way I would create any other audience. I would just find my interests and my languages and demographics and all the information that I need to create an audience, and I would just click save, create audience, right? And then I could go target that audience. I could pull it up in my Power Editor and use it over and over and over again without having to type it. You got 25 interests in one ad set. Like, you got to type that over and find them, and you're not going to remember them all. And so if you save your audiences, you'll always have your audiences that you come back to. Because remember, like I said earlier in the beginning, that once you find your audiences, you don't have to find them anymore. You don't have to keep going to find more audiences. Typically, if you're in one niche, you find your audience and you stay with that audience, right? So if you're selling pit bull items, the people who own pit bulls, and they bought I Love My Pit Bull mug, that same person is highly likely to buy I Love My Pit Bull t-shirt, right? It's just highly likely. You already have an audience that's resonated with the product. Remember, the people, the product, and the promotion are the keys. And if you already got a product that's resonated with that product, if you already have an audience that's resonated with a product, or I guess that's vice versa, then you could use that audience over and over and over again. Okay? Just throw more products at them that are very similar to the first one. So save your audiences so that you don't have to type them out over and over. I'm gonna give you guys just an extra little thing right here. I'm actually going to build an audience for you. I'm going to show you one of the ways I build audiences. Actually, I'm going to kind of give you an overview of one of the ways I do my targeting. Okay? Can you guys give me a niche? Give me a niche. So just pick any niche or a product. Don't give me a niche. Give me a product. Product that you. I don't want to do the fidget spinner. Don't give me something general. Give me something that's a little bit more niche-y. That way I could actually give you an example. Just type in a niche or something into the comments. And then I'll show you how to make what I call a lump audience. And while I'm making my lump audience, I'll show you how I break things up by interest type. Okay, let's see, jewelry, cargo trailers, maternity bra, wrist straps, cat and coffee, car decals, a lot of good ones. Babies, I like babies. We'll go with babies. Babies is a fun one because there's a bunch of different things I could do there. I like that one. A lot of different things. Babies will give me a lot of options to show you. Dogs and cats would too. It'll give me the ability to show you a lot of different options. So if I wanted to create an audience of people who, well, I asked for a product. So now we need, okay, somebody said socks. So let's say we had a pair of baby socks, right? That was let's say our product, right? I don't want to go after a niche because you don't target by niche, you target by product. And I want to make that very, very, very clear. Okay, you don't target by niche, you target by product. Yes, you can go after target trailers. I'm going to tell you how to go after trailers. It wouldn't have been helpful a helpful example for this, but to go after trailers, you could target people who own certain types of vehicles. Want to know how you do that? Behavior, car owner. Actually, let's go after F-150. Oh no, it's not going to give me a. Let's see. Truck owner. Let's see what it gives us. So pickup truck owner, Ford truck owner, Chevy truck owner, pickup truck, Chevy truck, truck driver, owner, operator. That's their job occupation. Owners of aftermarket. Like look at this stuff, you guys. You can go after this stuff. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of these products. I hope this was good. I hope because you guys said you can't go after people. Somebody said it in the comments. You can't go after people with these trailers. Yeah, you can. Right? There's certain ways to do it. You just have to be creative, right? So don't be afraid to click around. But that's not what we're going after. We're selling baby socks. Okay? Baby socks. I just bought my I just posted on this on Facebook the other day. Bought my little baby girl. She's just over 2.5 months. Just bought her first pair of Jordan booties, little baby socks, because I wear Jordans. That's what I like. So let's say we're selling some baby booties. Let's make it Jordan baby socks. Let's make it a little bit more creative. You guys want to make it a little bit more creative? So we're trying to sell Jordan baby socks. There's a bunch of different ways we could do that. Let's just type in the word baby. Actually, let's type in socks and see what comes up. Baby socks. So I typed in baby sock because that's my keyword. That's my product, right? That's the thing that I'm going after. Remember, we're not targeting a niche. You do not target a niche. You target a product, right? Or you target the people that are going after a product. So I don't go after people who are into the outdoors. I go after people who are into fishing poles, or people who are into camp stoves or things like that, right? That's where I start. That's where I start. Is I define my audience. I find my target audience by a product and not by a niche, right? You could call baby socks a niche. You can. I mean, if you really wanted to stretch, you could say, "Oh yeah, I'm in the baby sock niche," right? You can. But it's a product, and that's what I want to point out. And then when I type in that keyword within Facebook, Facebook gives me several different options here. Not enough though to really make anything useful. But what I like to do is I put in my keyword and I look at what Facebook shows me. Facebook gives me different what I call interest types of products. That's my phrase. You're not going to find this anywhere else. I call them interest types. These are types of interests. So there's baby products. You got baby care. You got baby toys, baby boomers, baby food and products. So some of these are relevant and some of these are totally irrelevant. So baby boomers, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. But some of these others, these give me categories to go after. So let me make it a little bit more clear what I'm talking about. So let's just go back and say that baby is what I'm going after. Baby clothes, right? Yeah, baby clothes, because I'm selling socks, so I put in baby clothes because baby socks didn't give me a whole lot of options. So I put in baby clothes, right? And then see what that gives me. Well, it gives me a whole list of options. And again, so I'm going to be looking for interest types, categories of interest that are that show up over and over and over again. So I'll explain to you what I mean here. Right here, so when I type in baby clothes, we get the general terms, baby clothes. But then we also get infant clothes, right? Which is if I was going to put this into an interest type or a category of interest, I would call this baby clothing by age. I got infant, and then I got maybe a little bit bigger, right? Look, like QQ baby kitty clothes. I don't know, maybe that's a little bit older. I don't know, but it's it's by a category, right? So infant clothing. Let's see if I find any more that are for that have an age. And there's not. I don't see any more interest in here that are by age, right? So what I do is when I come here, I'm trying to categorize these interests. I'm trying to find categories of interest that come up over and over and over again. And this one, I thought infant clothing, it had to do with kind of an age, but it's all babies. So infant isn't really going to give us anything different. You're not going to find a bunch of different ages within baby. So maybe the interest type of ages wouldn't work so well here, right? Now, I'm just kind of thinking out loud. This is what I would be doing. This is what I would be doing and thinking and saying to myself as I'm developing this. I'm not just saying this because I'm trying to explain it to you. I'm saying it because this is exactly what I would be thinking in my head. Exactly how I think of it in my head. What I just did there. I started with socks and then I reverted to clothes, right? I'm looking for interest types, and I said, okay, well, there's one with infant clothing. Maybe I can find one. Maybe there's another one newborn clothing and another one toddler clothing, which can kind of still be kind of a baby, maybe, right? Those are different. So there's different ages, and I could have categorized my interests by age, but because there's only one of them, I can't really do that. Okay, so let me look for other categories. Well, there's branded baby clothes, more than baby clothes, QQ baby, whatever, Aussie baby, or Aussie, however you say that, I don't know how to say it. Buy, sell, and trade baby clothes. Love, keep, create, the baby clothes keepsake company. Okay, so what I notice is that there are brands of baby clothes, right? There's the Love, Keep, Create, the baby clothes keepsake company. There's Aussie Baby, if that's how you say it, and kids clothes and bedding accessories. I'm assuming that that's some sort of brand. And you could look these up. But what I would do is I would actually look that up on Facebook. Just search in the Facebook search bar. This one seems like to be a brand, right? And so I have an interest type of brands. What I would be doing is I would actually be opening up a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet, and I would be making columns, and I would make the name of the top columns whatever the interest type is that I'm finding. This isn't a targeting lesson, guys. I go way in depth on this stuff, and I'm trying to give you an overview of it just really quickly, and I hope that you get it. But again, I start off with my spreadsheet, and at the top I'll have my interest type. So in this example, I would have something that says branded baby clothes would be a column, and then I would take the interest type of branded baby clothes. I would take QQ baby clothes. I would take the Aussie baby. I would take the Love, Keep, Create one, and I would go down and find other brands, right? Maybe like Baby Bones. I think that's probably a brand, right? And I'd find all of the brands: Green Baby Clothing, SoCal Baby Clothing, So Crafty. Right? I'd grab all of those brands and I would put them in my PowerPoint under that one column of brands interest types, right? And then I'm looking for other interest type. So like diaper. Diaper is a type of product, right? So it's a type of product associated with baby clothes. So I could look down and see, well, maybe there's other types of product. There's diaper, then there's baby products, but that's kind of general, and that's a behavior, which is different than an interest. And so I'm going to keep those separate. And we're looking at interest types. So we got diaper, all of these are behaviors. Let's see, soft baby clothing. That's a type of product, right? That could be categorized as maybe an attribute as well, because that's sometimes how I categorize my interest type is by attribute. And so I could say soft baby clothing as an attribute, and then we'll have like heat or summer baby clothing, which is another attribute. See, you could categorize it any way you want. And so as you're scrolling down, you're looking for categories of interest types. And I build my spreadsheet of columns of interest types and all of the interests that go into them. And then what I do is I come back and I build a separate audience for each one of those columns. So then I would have my baby attribute or clothing attributes audience, and I put all of those ones in there, all those targeting options in here. I'll take my baby, the age range ones if we had that, and I'd put all of those targeting options in there, and I'd make a separate ad set for each one of those. And what that allows me to do is find out where my buyers are at, right? And which type of, every audience that you make here is going to have a different type of buyer based on the type of interest. So if you have an interest type, an audience built of the interest type of people who go to baby websites, that interest type, the people within that audience are going to be different than the people who are in the interest type of, say, like baby strollers or baby items, right? So you make an interest type of baby items, and it has like strollers and car seats and high chairs and bibs and rattles and all this other stuff, right? You can make, that's a baby items, baby products. You can make an interest type of that, and that's one ad set. And then you can make another ad set of people who visit all of these baby websites, and that's one ad set. And the people who visit all the websites are going to be completely different than the people who are interested in the products. Okay? So that's the important thing to remember, is that you want to break it up by interest type, look for these types of interests and categorize them, and then break up your audience. With all of that said, that's how I find out who my audience is. However, with all of that said, what I do to test a product, if I just want to test a product and just find the audience, I'll lump all of them together. I'll just start typing stuff in, and I'll just start clicking on everything, right? I'm just clicking on everything. Because what's going to happen is Facebook is going to find the buyers. Facebook's going to find the buyers. And right now, I don't know if anybody's going to buy anything from me. I don't know if anybody's going to buy, if they're going to be interested in my products. I don't know, if I broke it down by interest type, I don't know if any of the interest types are going to be interested at all. I don't know if anybody's going to click. I don't know if anybody's buying. I don't know anything. I'm just testing it out there. It's just, I'm just throwing something out there, kind of like the old saying, throwing shit at the wall and hoping it sticks. That's basically what it is. We're just creating these audiences. You're doing it, in a logical way, but you're doing it and you don't know if it's going to work. So I don't want to waste a lot of time by breaking it up by interest type and creating all of these audiences and duplicating ads and all of this stuff. I don't want to do that in the very beginning. I just want to lump all of my audiences together and let Facebook optimize and let Facebook decide if that lump audience, if there's buyers in there. If there's buyers in there, and if it's only in one small segment, maybe one interest type is where all your buyers are at, but you've lumped all of these interests together, Facebook's going to find them. And when you start getting purchases and Facebook optimizes and you start getting purchases, then hey, there's something there. I need to break it up by interest type. So that's when you do what I just showed you a minute ago by breaking it up by interest type. And when you break it up by interest type, then you can find out where your buyers are at. Which one of the smaller pictures or clusters of audiences are they hiding in? Right? Does that make sense to you guys? I hope that made sense to you guys. I hope I didn't lose you guys. If I did lose some of you, because I expect that would happen, talking at this level of stuff on creating these audiences, forget about, don't really worry about any of that, because we're looking at creating saved audiences. So just the important thing is that you come here, you create a saved audience, you create your audience the main way you know how, the way you already been doing it. Come in here and do it, and then click create. I think we gotta name this thing. Then click. Actually, let's do. I want to show you where to find that audience. So now you got your saved audience. I got 7,000 people in that audience, and I now want to target them. So what I would do is I'm going to come over here and go to my Power Editor. They're making changes to Power Editor this weekend, constantly making changes. They like making us look like asses, those of us that like to teach this stuff. Make us look like we don't know what we're talking about because they change things right before your eyes. But we're making upgrades to Power Editor this weekend to make sure your your work isn't lost, you should publish all your changes before then. If you don't want to publish your changes before then, you can use bulk export to keep a copy of your changes. Okay, so if you guys got ads going on and you're just leaving them in your Power Editor, make sure you upload them, okay? Or save them. So now what you would do is, now we're gonna, like, say we wanted to create a new campaign, new ad set or whatever, you'd come to the ad set level where you're working on it at, and where you would pick the audience that you just made. You would come down here to this audience section, and you would just click the drop down that was right here. I guess I already have one picked, but you pick the one that says, let me show you this, right? And it loads in the audience that we just made. And then I just go in and change all this other stuff. And well, actually I shouldn't have to, because it should have been duplicated or whatever, depending on how you're doing it. But then the ad's good to go. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to sit there and type in the 25 interests, all of these all over again, and try to remember them all. They're already there. They're saved, right? Now, if you guys have been manually typing in all of these audiences over and over and over again, I hope you liked that. I hope you liked how easy that was. Just pick it and it loads it. It loads in the audience. That simple. It brings in all of the interests or whatever it was, the demographics and behaviors that you choose. So it's that simple. It's not that hard. It's really easy stuff. It's stuff that just is going to make your life a lot easier. It really will make your life easier if you plan on doing this stuff long term. Okay, and when I mean long term, I mean past like 6 weeks. Long term nowadays, long term is short. Okay, but maybe not 6 weeks, but if you really plan on building a business out of this rather than just trying to see if this stuff works, right? If you're going to make it past the 90 days, the 90-day challenge, and keep building your brand, your store, then you do want to know this stuff. You do want to come in here and learn as much of this as you possibly can. Okay? Does it all make sense to you guys? We went over 3 different types of audiences. You come over here in your business manager, you click on the audience tab, and there you can find your different audiences. If you have a bunch of them, you could then look at them by the different attributes there, or you could filter them by different attributes here. So maybe I only wanted to see my lookalike audiences. Well, that allows me to see only my lookalike audiences. Or maybe I only see my custom audiences. Well, that allows me to see only my custom audiences, right? Only want to see my saved audiences. That allows me to do that. So you could filter. Use these filters. I use filters and I'm constantly using the filters and the searches within Facebook. So I recommend that you use them too. Okay. Yep. This does not only apply to Shopify. This could be used anywhere. This is not just Shopify stuff. True that. All right, guys. You guys take care. I'm going to go ahead and end this webinar and talk to you guys next time.